Hi, folks, and welcome to a brand new episode of CNB. I'm Siddharth Vinayak Patankar. Thank you for joining me. A very Merry Christmas from all of us at Car and Bike. And yes, we are going to end the year in grand style, as we always do, by also introducing our annual awards property. And yes, viewers' choice. We'll get to that in a bit. I'll start off, though, with the latest from KTM. After the huge popularity of the 390 Adventure, KTM believes that it's time to democratize and give greater access to adventure riding, and which is why now the 390 gets a younger sibling. Here's the full review.
What's a two-wheeled adventure without some off-road riding? And we have today the newest entry-level ADV, the Made in India KTM 250 Adventure.
%90 of the time, you'll ride the KTM 250 Adventure on tarmac in the city and for touring on the highway. But the 10% of the time when you do decide to go off-road, we'll also talk about that. But overall, we'll talk about how is a new 250 Adventure as a do-it-all everyday motorcycle.
It may be the smallest KTM adventure bike, but it still looks big and definitely has presence. The fairly large fuel tank is built to cover long distances, and the LCD display has all necessary readouts, and ABS on the rear wheel can be switched off. Overall, the dimensions are identical to its bigger sibling, the KTM 390 Adventure. And it has ample ground clearance, although the seat height could be a tad too tall for riders with a somewhat short stature.
The KTM 250 Adventure looks almost exactly like its bigger sibling, the 390 Adventure. That's because there's a lot of common with this bike. Cycle parts, the wheel, suspension, chassis, even the bodywork is shared with the 390 Adventure, but of course the colors are slightly different, and this one gets a halogen headlight while a 390 Adventure gets a full digital headlight. The instrument console, this one's a plain Jane LCD console where a 390 Adventure gets a full color TFT screen, and the handlebar, this one gets a steel handlebar while a 390 Adventure gets a aluminium handlebar. Of course, the 390 Adventure has got better electronics as well, but this one looks the same, size is the same, and if you don't notice the 250 written on a tank, you could be fooled into believing this one is the 390 Adventure.
On the move, the 250 Adventure has an eager to rev engine. Acceleration is brisk without being over the top. And as long as the engine is kept spinning, the 250 Adventure's performance is adequate. While the firm suspension offers superb dynamics, it does feel a little stiff over road undulations.
The engine is quite likable, its free revving goes up to 9,500 RPM, and the best part is the surge of power beyond 7,000 RPM. But 6,000 RPM onwards, the slight vibrations which creep in on the foot pegs and on the handlebar. Not a spot of bother if you're riding on a daily basis, but if you're covering hundreds of kilometers, those vibrations sitting on highway speeds will probably get to you. And for me, the performance is okay, but I would have preferred a little bit more performance to actually enjoy it a little bit more off-road. Suspension is taut and firm, so handling is superb, it stays planted even in the city while you're negotiating traffic. Steering is very light and nimble, so it's very manageable as an everyday bike. But that tight suspension, if you're going over a bad road for several kilometers on end, it becomes slightly uncomfortable.
Designed to make adventure riding more accessible, even to less experienced riders, the KTM 250 Adventure is otherwise a likable motorcycle. As long as you keep the engine on the boil, it's enjoyable even and can very well become a do-it-all motorcycle for the daily commute, long highway rides, and even the occasional off-road excursion. A taller handlebar could have helped riding off-road better, and some more punch from the engine definitely would have been welcome.
So is a 250 Adventure a good bike? Most certainly yes. Very enjoyable bike, very nice. The engine revs freely, you can ride it for hours on end, you can use it as a daily commute, you can go long rides on it, and you can very well start off-road riding with it if that's the kind of riding you want to do. The problem with the 250 Adventure is the pricing. At 2,48,000 ex-showroom Delhi, you still get a 250cc motorcycle, and just for 10,000 more, you get the KTM 390 Duke if performance and bragging rights is what you're looking for.
It's still a slightly expensive proposition, but otherwise the 250 Adventure ticks all the right boxes to be a versatile adventure bike. It may not be perfect, but it still offers a good blend of performance and all-round capability for the newbie adventure rider.
Welcome back. Now it's a rival to this car, the Magnite. I am talking about the Toyota Urban Cruiser. It's based on the Maruti Suzuki Vitara Brezza. Here's our review.
The year of the pandemic has already had its fair share of new subcompact SUVs, and we're not even talking about facelifts like the Tata Nexon or the Maruti Suzuki Vitara Brezza. There were many first-time entrants as well, like the Kia Sonet and the Nissan Magnite, which made the segment more crowded than ever. Between the last two cars, Toyota launched the Urban Cruiser in the market. It's the second Maruti car after Baleno which has been rebadged by Toyota, and that's thanks to the partnership between Japanese giants Suzuki and Toyota that enables them to share tech and models. There was a lot of similarity between the Baleno and the Glanza, but you have to give it to Toyota for putting some extra effort on the Urban Cruiser to give it a slightly distinct identity.
Well, if the Urban Cruiser was wearing a face mask, you would probably mistake it for the Vitara Brezza, but thankfully it's not. Yes, the LED projector headlamps with the DRLs look exactly the same, but the big changes are on the bumper, the skid plates, and yes, the front grille. And because of that, the Urban Cruiser just does not share its name, at least partly, with some bigger Toyota SUVs. It also reminds you of some.
There are 16-inch alloy wheels, body-colored door handles, square wheel arches and body cladding which extends all the way to the rear. The rear skid plates matches the one on the front and therefore shows uniformity. Then you get LED split tail lights, and the chrome applique houses the car's name. If you want to make the Urban Cruiser a little more distinct, you can choose this new rustic brown color which comes with a dual tone option. In all, there are 6 monotone and 3 dual tone options to choose from. The latter is available only on the top of the line premium trim. The cabin is a mix of some hits and misses. While quality and space on offer is decent, when it comes to equipment list, the Urban Cruiser lags behind 2 other new cars in the segment, the Sonet and the Magnite.
Now straight up you get this 7-inch touchscreen infotainment system that Toyota calls as a smart Playcast touchscreen audio. It of course gets Android Auto and Apple CarPlay and smartphone connectivity as well. Coming to the instrument cluster, it's a small digital screen in the center, but rest of it is analog, and that makes it feel a bit inferior to some other recently launched cars in the segment. But what you do get is a cooled glove box here and another storage box down below.
In fact, the number of storage options in the cabin to put small articles will impress you. There's a dark brown color on the seats, and the fabric inserts on the door panels too are finished in brown. The base trim, which is strangely called mid, doesn't get the touchscreen system, voice command or cruise control. The good thing is that the steering mounted audio controls, climate control, push button start, keyless entry and electrically foldable ORVMs are available in all the variants. However, features like rain sensing wipers, leather wrapped steering wheel and front sliding armrest are only a part of the top premium trim.
The second row on the Urban Cruiser offers decent space overall. I like the knee room I get here because of this cushioning on the seats. The headroom is just about okay because you sit rather up on the second row. You have a center armrest here with cup holders, so that's nice. What you don't get are rear AC vents or any sort of charging point on the second row.
Adjustable headrests and 3-point seat belts are available for 2 passengers, while the middle passenger gets a lap belt. You also get 60-40 split seats, and the efficient mechanism here means they fall absolutely flat. But overall the cabin is not as premium as the Venue or Sonnet, or not as spacious as the XUV 300. At 328 litres, the boot space is more or less the same as most other cars in the segment. Let's get to driving it then. There's no diesel engine here, and there's no turbo petrol as well. The 1.5 litre 4-cylinder petrol churns out 103 bhp and 138 Nm at 4400 rpm. Gearbox options are a 5-speed manual or a 4-speed automatic.
Now this is definitely one of the biggest, more refined, more powerful engines in the segment, but not as responsive owing to the RPM mark at which the peak torque kicks in. Now I'm driving the 4-speed automatic version of the Urban Cruiser, and a lot has been said about this torque converter gearbox and how sluggish it is in certain situations. But let me tell you this, if you're going to use this car primarily in the slow moving city traffic, then this gearbox will do the job well.
On this automatic variant, Toyota is claiming 18.76 km per litre, which is even more than the 5-speed manual, which gives 17.03 km per litre. That's because the automatic gets a smart hybrid technology where an advanced lithium-ion battery comes with integrated starter generator. Here features like torque assist, idle start-stop and brake energy regeneration help in better fuel efficiency.
But for that you'll have to shell out an extra 1,40,000 rupees when you compare it to the manual variant of the car. Now based on our Vitara Brezza experience, we can definitely say that the 5-speed manual gearbox is definitely more driver friendly and surely more responsive when it comes to making those quick overtaking maneuvers.
Ride quality is good and suspension is tuned to handle the bad roads quite well. Yes, there's some bit of body roll, and while the engine doesn't make noise, the tires do, and that sometimes bothers you, more so at high speeds. Talking about high speeds, let's talk about crashing at high speeds.
Now remember, the Vitara Brezza scored an impressive 4 stars in the global NCAP safety crash test. And the fact that the Urban Cruiser is essentially the same car means you will be traveling in a safe set of wheels if you do decide to buy this one. And this one also gets ISOFIX child seat restraints, and the good thing, they come in all the variants.
But just 2 airbags is a far cry from 6 or 7 airbags seen in at least the top variants of Hyundai Venue, Kia Sonet and Mahindra XUV 300. The prices for 3 variants named Mid, High and Premium start at 8,40,000 rupees for the manual and 9,80,000 rupees for the automatic, which is almost the same as the Brezza when compared to similar variants. The prices top off at 9,80,000 for the manual and 11,30,000 rupees for the automatics. For the dual tone, be prepared to shell out up to 25,000 rupees more. This doesn't exactly make the urban cruiser the most affordable car in the segment. The cheapest SUV in the segment, the recently launched Magnite, starts at 3,41,000 rupees lower, while the Tata Nexon is cheaper in comparison by 1,41,000 rupees. The Korean cousins are also cheaper by around 1,70,000 rupees for the base variants. The EcoSport, which also gets a 1.5 litre petrol engine, is 21,000 rupees cheaper.
So yes, it isn't exactly the most affordable car in the segment when you compare it to almost all its contenders. But this Toyota batch means you're almost certain of a good ownership experience, and that 3-year 1 lakh kilometer warranty might just tilt the balance in its favor.
Well, that's it here on CNB this week. I promised you a look at more from our viewers' choice. This is one of the nominees, and you can vote and win. Remember, that's our annual tradition. You vote. If it wins the maximum votes, you get to drive it home. Here are all the details. I'll leave you with that. Thanks so much for watching. Please wear your seatbelts. Please do wear your helmets. Merry Christmas again, and Happy New Year.